Security guard walks employees to cars after dark. Marcus had been doing it for months now, a ritual born from his own unspoken past, not realizing that from the shadowed corner office on the 30th floor, CEO Richard Harmon watched with quiet admiration. The evening descended with its usual November chill, streetlights flickering to life across the corporate park as darkness claimed another day. Marcus Ellis adjusted his security uniform, the navy fabric worn at the elbows but meticulously pressed, and checked his watch. 5:30. The exodus would begin soon. His small security desk in the lobby offered a perfect view of the glass doors leading to the parking lot, a sprawling expanse that, despite its modern lighting, harbored too many shadows for his comfort, especially after what had happened 3 years ago. Heading out, Marcus? Elaine from accounting offered a tired smile as she approached the lobby doors, her arms laden with folders and her purse precariously balanced on her shoulder. Yes, ma'am. He rose immediately, reaching for his flashlight. Let me walk you. Oh, you don't have to. Company policy, ma'am. It wasn't, but the lie came easily after so many repetitions. Weather's turning nasty tonight, too. Outside, the wind carried the promise of snow, cutting through Marcus's thin jacket. He'd given up his heavier coat last week to a homeless man who'd been sheltering in the stairwell. Management would have had him removed, but Marcus had simply helped him to the shelter 3 blocks away, leaving his coat as a parting gift. You're shivering, Elaine noted as they navigated between the rows of cars. Don't you have a warmer coat? This is plenty warm. He lied again, his breath forming clouds in the frigid air. Just need to keep moving. As they reached her sedan, Marcus scanned the surroundings, flashlight beam cutting through shadows. Only when she was safely inside with the engine running did he step back. Thank you, she called through the partially open window. You're the only one who does this, you know. He nodded, already backing away. Drive safe, Miss Elaine. 30 floors up, Richard Harmon stood at his window, watching the small figure of his security guard escort yet another employee safely to their vehicle. It had caught his attention weeks ago, this unauthorized deviation from protocol. Not because it broke rules, but because it seemed to happen every single night, regardless of weather or hour. His assistant, Patricia, entered with a stack of reports. Sir, the quarterly projections you asked for. Patricia, he said without turning from the window. Who is our lobby security guard? For evening shift? That's Marcus Ellis. Been with us almost a year now. What do we know about him? Patricia hesitated. Not much, sir. Ex-military. Perfect attendance. Keeps to himself. Richard nodded slowly. Find out more. Marcus's apartment was like his life, sparse, functional, devoid of luxury. The one-bedroom unit in the East Side's declining neighborhood served its purpose, a place to sleep between shifts. The walls remained undecorated except for a single-frame photograph, a woman with eyes that matched his own, her smile radiating a warmth his life now lacked. He peeled off his damp uniform, the chill from his walk home having seeped into his bones. The ancient radiator clanked and wheezed but provided little heat. Dinner was simple. Reheated pasta from yesterday, eaten while standing at his small kitchen counter, scanning through job listings on his phone. Security work at Harmon Industries paid better than most, but it wasn't enough. Not with the medical bills still arriving monthly. Their red past due, stamps like accusations. He'd been searching for a second job, something he could work between shifts, but opportunities were scarce. His phone buzzed with a text from his sister. Lily asked about you again today. When are you coming to visit? Marcus set the phone down without answering. How could he explain that he couldn't bear to see his niece's face? That each time he looked at her, he saw another little girl he'd failed to protect? Sleep came reluctantly that night, as it did most nights. In the darkness of his bedroom, the memories circled like hungry wolves. The screech of tires, the shattering glass, the silence that followed. 3 years had dulled the edges but never erased the core of his guilt. When his alarm blared at 5 a.m., Marcus had been awake for hours. Pablo. By Wednesday, the forecasted snow had arrived, transforming the corporate park into a winter landscape that might have been beautiful if not for the biting cold and treacherous ice. Marcus arrived early, using salt from the maintenance shed to clear pathways near the entrance before his shift began. You don't have to do that, said Jerome, the day shift guard. Maintenance is supposed to handle it. They're understaffed, Marcus replied, continuing his work. Besides us, someone could slip. Jerome shook his head but said nothing more. Like many others, he'd given up trying to understand Marcus's compulsive need to protect everyone around him. The lobby was quiet that afternoon, most employees having opted to work from home due to the weather. Marcus used the time to patrol the stairwells and check the emergency exits, making mental notes of burnt-out bulbs and doors that stuck, small things that could matter in a crisis. At 3:15, his radio crackled. "Ellis, report to HR, please." His stomach tightened. In his experience, unexpected HR visits rarely brought good news. Had someone complained about his escorting employees? Was he about to lose the only steady job he'd maintained since returning to civilian life? The HR office was warm, almost uncomfortably so after the chill of the lobby. Barbara Chen, the department director, greeted him with a professional smile that revealed nothing. "Marcus, please sit down." He perched on the edge of the chair, back straight, hands resting on his knees, the military posture he reverted to in moments of stress. "Am I in trouble, ma'am?" Barbara's eyebrows rose slightly. "Why would you think that? Usually how these meetings go," he admitted. "No, Marcus, you're not in trouble." She opened a folder on her desk. "In fact, I've been asked to discuss a potential opportunity with you." For the next 15 minutes, Barbara outlined a proposal that seemed too surreal to be happening. Internal Security Coordinator, a new position focusing on employee safety protocols, emergency response training, and facility security oversight. The salary was more than double what he currently earned. "Why me?" The question escaped before he could contain it. Barbara's smile softened. The recommendation came directly from Mr. Harmon, the CEO. Marcus's confusion deepened. "I've never even met him. Apparently, he's been watching your work." She closed the folder. "He specifically mentioned your initiative in ensuring employee safety after hours." Marcus felt the floor shift beneath him. Someone had noticed. Not to punish, but to recognize. "I'd need time to think about it," he said finally, the words feeling inadequate against the storm of emotions building in his chest. "Of course. Take the weekend." Barbara stood extending her hand. "But Marcus, this is a good thing. You've earned it." As he walked back to his post, the snow falling heavier now beyond the glass doors, Marcus struggled to process what had just happened. Opportunity had appeared like an unexpected visitor, and he wasn't sure he deserved to welcome it in. The weekend brought no clarity. Marcus spent it pacing his small apartment, weighing options that had never before been available to him. The new position would solve his financial problems. It would give him purpose beyond simply watching doors and escorting people to cars. But it would also thrust him into visibility when he'd spent 3 years trying to disappear. Sunday evening, his sister called. "You're avoiding us," she said without preamble. "Lily's birthday is next month, and she wants her uncle there." Marcus pressed his forehead against the cool window glass, watching snow accumulate on the fire escape. "I've been busy, Angie." "Too busy for family?" The hurt in her voice was palpable. "Marcus, it's been almost 6 months. I know. She doesn't blame you. None of us do. The only person who can't forgive you is yourself." The truth of her words stung like an open wound. "They offered me a promotion," he said, changing the subject. "At work." "That's wonderful." Angie's tone immediately brightened. "What kind of promotion?" As he explained the new role, he found himself warming to the possibility. Angie listened, then said exactly what he needed to hear. "Mom would be so proud of you, Marcus. You know that, right?" After they hung up, Marcus stood at his window for a long time, watching the city lights shimmer through the falling snow. Perhaps it was time to step out of the shadows. Perhaps he had punished himself long enough. Monday morning, he accepted the position. The transition was not without challenges. The Navy uniform gave way to business casual attire that felt foreign against his skin. The security desk was replaced by an office on the 28th floor, with windows that made him feel exposed. Meetings filled his calendar, introducing him to department heads and team leaders who now looked to him for guidance on security matters. What surprised him most was how much his previous invisible vigil had prepared him for this role. He knew the building's vulnerabilities, understood the staff's habits and concerns. His suggestions for improved lighting in the parking structure and extended security camera coverage were approved without question. When he proposed self-defense workshops for employees who worked late, the idea was met with enthusiasm. Throughout it all, Richard Harmon remained a distant figure, approving initiatives through intermediaries, visible only in passing at larger company gatherings. Marcus sometimes wondered if the CEO even remembered elevating the quiet security guard from the lobby. That changed on a rainy Tuesday in March, 4 months into Marcus's new position. He was reviewing evacuation procedures with the IT department when his phone buzzed with a text from Patricia, the CEO's assistant. "Mr. Harmon would like to see you at 3 p.m. The executive suite occupied the entire 30th floor, its reception area decorated with tasteful artwork and plants that thrive despite the absence of natural light. Patricia, a silver-haired woman with keen eyes, greeted him with unexpected warmth. "He's been wanting to meet with you properly," she said, leading him toward double doors of dark wood. "We've all noticed the improvements you've implemented." Richard Harmon stood as Marcus entered, coming around his desk to shake hands. He was younger than Marcus had expected, perhaps early 40s, with the energetic presence of someone perpetually in motion. "Marcus Ellis," he said, his grip firm. "Finally, we meet officially." "Sir." Marcus nodded, uncertain how to navigate this encounter. "Please sit." Richard gestured to a seating area by the windows. The same windows, Marcus realized, that overlooked the parking lot where he'd escorted countless employees to their cars. "I've been following your work," Richard continued once they were seated. "The security upgrades, the training programs. The feedback has been overwhelmingly positive." "Thank you, sir, but that's not why I wanted to meet with you." Richard leaned forward slightly. "I want to understand why a man who goes so far out of his way to protect others seems to have no one watching out for him." The question landed like a physical blow. Marcus stiffened, his carefully constructed professional demeanor threatening to crack. "I'm not sure I understand, sir." Richard's expression softened. "Before your promotion, you walked employees to their cars every night for months. In rain, in snow, sometimes without a proper coat. You arrived early to salt walkways. You fixed the emergency exit on the 3rd floor when maintenance was backed up." Marcus's surprise must have shown on his face. "Yes, I noticed things," Richard confirmed. "It's my job. But what I couldn't figure out was why. Why go so far beyond what's expected or required?" The question hung in the air between them. Marcus could offer the practiced answers: company loyalty, professional dedication. But something in Richard's direct gaze made him want, for the first time in years, to speak the truth. 3 years ago, he began, the words feeling rusty from disuse. "I was a military police officer stationed at Fort Benning. My sister and her family came to visit. Her daughter, my niece Lily, was 4 at the time." He paused, gathering strength to continue. Richard waited patiently. "We were at a shopping center. I was supposed to be watching Lily while my sister tried on clothes. But I got distracted, just for a minute, by a situation near the entrance. Lily wandered into the parking lot." His voice grew tight. "A driver backing out didn't see her. I wasn't fast enough." "She was injured?" Richard asked quietly. "Severely. Multiple surgeries. Physical therapy for over a year." Marcus stared at his hands. "The doctors say she's lucky to be walking now. And it happened because I failed to protect someone in my care." Understanding dawned in Richard's eyes. "So now you protect everyone." "I try," Marcus admitted. "It doesn't make up for what happened, but it keeps the guilt at bay." Marcus looked up, surprised by the insight. "Something like that." Richard was silent for a moment, his gaze drifting to the window, to the parking lot now visible in the afternoon sun. "My wife died 5 years ago," he said finally. "Sure, cancer. I was building this company, flying to meetings, chasing contracts. I missed her last 3 months for a series of deals that seemed important at the time." He turned back to Marcus. "We all carry regrets, Marcus. The question is whether we let them destroy us or drive us to do better. Is that why you promoted me? Pity? I promoted you because I recognized something in you that this company needs. Genuine concern for others. Commitment to doing what's right, not just what's required." Richard's voice grew firmer. "Your past shaped you, but it doesn't define your value." By the time Marcus left the office, something had shifted inside him. A loosening of the bands that had constricted his heart for so long. Richard's words echoed in his mind. "Your past shaped you, but it doesn't define your value." Perhaps, just perhaps, there was truth in that. Fortum. Spring brought new growth to the corporate park. Flowering trees along the walkways, fresh paint in the lobby, expanded security measures throughout the complex. Marcus found himself at the center of these changes, his recommendations implemented with enthusiasm, his presence increasingly requested at planning meetings and executive briefings. More surprising was the gradual emergence of connections, real human connections, that began to fill the emptiness he'd cultivated for so long. Elaine from accounting invited him to her team's lunch outings. Jerome, his former security colleague, sought his advice on advancing his own career. Even Patricia, the CEO's formidable assistant, became an unexpected ally, steering important security concerns directly to his attention. In April, at Richard's urging, Marcus finally visited his sister's home for Sunday dinner. The moment Lily opened the door, standing on her own 2 feet, her smile bright as sunshine, something broke and mended simultaneously in his chest. Uncle Marcus, she threw her arms around his waist. Mom said you got a super important job saving people. Not exactly saving, he murmured, awkwardly returning her embrace. Just keeping them safe. Same thing, she declared with 8-year-old certainty. Come see my new bike. I can ride it all by myself now. Later, after Lily had gone to bed, Angie sat with him on the back porch, the spring night cool but pleasant around them. You seem different, she observed, studying his face in the dim glow from the kitchen window. Less haunted. Marcus considered this. Maybe I am. I've been talking with someone. A therapist? Hope brightened her voice. My boss, actually. He smiled at her surprised expression. He lost his wife. Said something that made me think. Must be some boss. He is. Marcus leaned back, looking up at the stars. He saw something in me that I couldn't see myself. Angie reached over to squeeze his hand. Welcome back, brother. We've missed you. By the 1-year anniversary of his promotion, Marcus Ellis had transformed not only his own life, but aspects of Harmon Industries itself. The company's new comprehensive security program had become a model for other corporations in the region. Employee satisfaction surveys showed significant increases in feelings of workplace safety. Marcus had even been featured in an industry magazine highlighting innovative corporate security approaches. On a personal level, the changes were equally profound. He'd moved to a better apartment, closer to work. Weekly dinners with his sister and niece had become sacred ritual. The medical bills were paid in full, with enough left over to contribute to Lily's college fund. He'd even, after much persuasion from colleagues, adopted a rescue dog, a one-eared shepherd mix named Scout, who greeted each day with unbridled enthusiasm. But old habits died hard. Even with his expanded responsibilities and team of security personnel, Marcus still occasionally walked late working employees to their cars. Not because he had to, but because he understood now that these small acts of kindness were not penance but purpose. It was during one such evening, a stormy October night with winds that bent trees and sent rain lashing against windows, that Marcus encountered Richard again in the nearly empty parking garage. Mr. Harmon, he said with surprise, noticing the CEO struggling with a stack of folders while trying to manage an umbrella. Let me help you with those. Marcus. Richard smiled, surrendering half the folders gratefully. Still escorting people after hours, I see. Old habits. Marcus positioned his umbrella to shield them both as they walked toward Richard's reserved parking space. Though technically, I'm heading out myself. They reached the sleek black sedan just as thunder cracked overhead, intensifying the downpour. Join me for a drink? Richard asked suddenly, gesturing to the passenger door. There's something I'd like to discuss with you. 20 minutes later, they sat in a quiet corner of the Glenwood, a small upscale bar not far from the office. Richard ordered scotch for himself and, at Marcus's request, club soda with lime. 1 year, Richard said after their drinks arrived, raising his glass slightly. Hard to believe it's been a year since you took on the new role. It's gone quickly, Marcus agreed, though sometimes I still feel like that guard in the lobby, watching the doors. In some ways, you always will be. That's your foundation. Richard took a sip of his scotch. But I didn't bring you here to reminisce. I brought you here because I'm expanding the security division. He outlined his vision, a comprehensive employee safety program that extended beyond physical security to include wellness initiatives, crisis response, and community outreach. A program that would need a director. You want me to find candidates? Marcus asked. Richard's laugh was genuine. No, Marcus. I want you to be the director. Full department status, executive team position, reporting directly to me. Marcus set his glass down carefully. I don't have the qualifications for something at that level. Qualifications can be obtained. Experience can be gained. But character? Richard shook his head. That comes from within. You've demonstrated your character every day for the past year. Hell, long before that. When you were walking people to their cars for no extra pay and no recognition. The offer was unexpected, overwhelming. Part of Marcus, the part that still woke sometimes in the night, haunted by the sound of screeching tires, wanted to refuse. That part whispered he didn't deserve such trust, such responsibility. But another voice spoke louder now, one that had grown stronger through months of healing and purpose. This voice reminded him of Richard's words. Your past shaped you, but it doesn't define your value. I'd need to finish my degree, Marcus said finally, and there would be certifications to obtain, all supported by the company. Richard smiled, sensing acceptance. So that's a yes? Marcus extended his hand across the table. It's a yes. As they shook hands, thunder rolled again outside, but it sounded different now to Marcus's ears. Less like a warning and more like applause. 5 years later, Marcus stood at the podium in the company's main conference center, addressing the newest class of security personnel joining Harman Industries. Each of you comes to this role with your own story, he told them, his voice steady and confident in a way that would have once seemed impossible. Your own reasons for choosing this path. Some of you might see it as just a job, a paycheck, a stepping stone. Others might have deeper motivations. His gaze swept across the diverse faces looking back at him, young and older, different backgrounds, different journeys that had led them here. Whatever brought you to this moment, know this. What you do matters. Every door you watch, every employee you assist, every protocol you follow or develop, it all contributes to something greater than yourself. From the back of the room, Richard Harman watched with quiet satisfaction. The nervous security guard who had once walked employees to their cars in the dark had become one of his most valued executives. Under Marcus's direction, the Harman Safety Initiative had reduced workplace incidents by 70% and been adopted by companies across the country. More importantly, Marcus Ellis had found his way back to himself, to the man who had always been there beneath the layers of guilt and regret. Your work begins with watching doors, Marcus continued, but it doesn't end there. It's about creating spaces where people feel secure enough to thrive, where they know someone is looking out for them. After the orientation concluded, Richard approached as Marcus gathered his notes. Powerful speech, he said, especially coming from someone who used to communicate mainly in nods and yes sirs. Marcus smiled, shaking his mentor's hand. I had a good teacher. How's Lily doing with college applications? Stressed but excited. She's set on Northwestern's engineering program. Pride warmed Marcus's voice. Her physical therapist inspired her to design better mobility equipment. From tragedy to purpose, Richard nodded approvingly. The best kind of transformation. They walked together toward the exit, their conversation shifting to upcoming security initiatives in the new satellite office opening in Denver. Professional discussions between colleagues who had both found healing through unexpected connection. As they reached the lobby, the same lobby where Marcus had once maintained his quiet vigil, Richard paused. You know what I think about sometimes? He asked, how different things might have been if I hadn't happened to look out my window that snowy evening 5 years ago. If I hadn't seen you walking that employee to her car. Butterfly effect, Marcus agreed. Small actions, big consequences. Not just consequences, Richard corrected. Opportunities, for both of us. Outside, the late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the corporate park. New security lighting Marcus's design was already activating, ensuring no dark corners remained. Employees moved confidently through the space, many nodding in recognition as they passed. Need an escort to your car, sir? Marcus asked with the hint of a smile. Richard laughed. Some habits never die, do they? The good ones shouldn't, Marcus replied, and together they walked into the fading light. Two men transformed by simple acts of seeing and being seen.